Hello, everyone. I want to go over the number jumble, which is our project 3. It is a 3-day project that many of you will hopefully have a lot of fun with. I gave you the instructions for day 1 and day 2. They kind of go together. I just broke them up in terms of the amount of work that you'll be doing, and then day 3 is the kind of the separate section. And then I give you the grading as well. So the first thing that you need to do for this project is you need to download the number jumble master.wave. So usually we're dealing with MP3 files. Wave is just it's a different kind of an audio file, but that doesn't matter. It's still an audio file. I also gave you a link to the examples drive folder, and if you click that, you will see that there are many examples of past student work. I gave you 2 images. You find one over here at the bottom and over here at the top. So this just kind of gives you what the final product will look like. The important part is going to be right over here where the numbers are simply counting up and counting down. That is the important part, and the same thing in BandLab. In this case, the numbers they don't appear, but the idea is the same. Of course, you can go ahead and listen to any of these if you'd like. To download this, you need to click it, and it will start playing. You don't need to play it. What you need to do is you need to download it. So over here at the very top, you're going to click on the little options. You're going to click the more options, more actions icon, and then you will click it open in a new window. And when you're opening in a new window, you will have the download button. You can see in the original there is no download button. When you open it in a new window, the download button appears. You click it and it will download. If you're using the Google Chrome browser, it will download automatically. And then you can click on the little arrow, show in folder, and your downloads will open. You'll see that mine is here from a few days ago. I will delete this one. You can close both. You can click out of that, and you will follow the directions. So you're going to download the MP3 file, which we just did, and they give you the directions on how to do that. You're going to create a new session, a new project in BandLab. Mine is already open. You can see I have a finished product here, but I will create a new one just to show you what I'm doing. In this case, since we downloaded an audio file, we're going to import an audio file where you can just click import audio right over here in the bottom left. It will open your downloads and you'll find your number jumble master, hard to say. Open, and it will import this file. If you play it, you probably can't understand what I'm saying. And the reason is it's backwards. So we imported the file and you need to reverse it. So the next thing that I'll make this a little larger, you can see it a little better. So you're going to reverse the audio file because it's backwards. To reverse it, you click on I'll close this and I'll close this. You'll see that there's a few buttons on the bottom left over here. And if you click editor, it opens a few options and you're going to click reverse. And you can see that this physically changes, right? This is the original, the way I imported it. And if you click it, it changes it. And then if you click
9,
play,
1, 3, 7.
You get the numbers in the correct direction. But you probably notice that the numbers are a little out of order.
9, 1, 3.
And the task is to arrange them and put them in order. But you'll see that you can't just move them around. You will have to figure out how to separate them. So let's go back to the directions. You're going to split the audio into different clips, isolating the numbers. So let's do that first. So this is the slice at playhead button. You can also go to edit, slice at playhead, but the button is right here. I'll just make this a little larger, just a tad larger. This is the playhead, right? This is wherever you move this, then you press play, that's where it's going to play. You can also press the space bar to play.
6, 2, 4.
So you want to move this around and you want to find the space between the numbers. And unfortunately, I can't make this any wider. However, you can zoom in so you can kind of see a little better where the sound is happening, right? And where it's not happening, right over here. So somewhere in the middle, we're going to just put the playhead and we're going to click, and then you're just going to simply separate all of the numbers. The one important thing is that if you move this to somewhere, let's say this clip is selected, you can see it's selected because it's highlighted white, it's outlined in white. If this is highlighted or outlined and you're trying to cut this, you are not able to click this button because you have to click the audio, the actual audio clip that you are wanting to slice, and the playhead has to be over that selected audio clip. So, like so, you will simply separate all of the numbers. Here, there's some sound happening, so I want to make sure that I am in the correct, that I stop between the numbers.
6, 2.
So you can see there's just some background noise here. I'll just go somewhere in the middle.
2.
And I'll do that, and then that's it. Those are all my numbers. Now, I don't want to take the time to really listen to everything all over again. I will have to because I don't know what order they're in, right? So a couple things. So first, you can zoom in to make it easier to see where the sounds start. And you're going to trim the sound clips by clicking and dragging the beginning end of the clip, and you're going to leave no silence at all in the audio clip. What do I mean by this? So if you zoom in, and this is always going to zoom in where the playhead is, so if you want to zoom in the middle, you can zoom into the middle. Otherwise, wherever the playhead is, that's where it's going to zoom in. I'll just start at the beginning and scroll all the way to the left. And when you click on this file, we kind of dealt with loops, right? Where this is how you would make a loop, or not making a loop in this case. But on the left and the right, you will see just a little bracket. Instead of circle, you see a little bracket. So we're going to take that bracket, we're going to click and drag, and we're going to stop it exactly where the sound ends. And we're going to do the same thing, click and drag, and we're going to stop it where the sound starts. I don't want any silence, right? So this section, and I'll slice it right over here. You can put the playhead exactly where this starts. You can separate it. This is all silence. It's just a flat line. There is nothing happening. It is silence. You can delete it. When you click this, again, you can click and drag and make sure. So this is kind of getting in the way. I want to move the playhead a little bit. I want to make sure that you're not deleting any part of this. You don't want to slice it in the middle, for sure. So some of these are longer sound.
3.
It's got 3, right? So it takes a little more time. You want to make sure you're not cutting any part of it off. You want to start right at the beginning. You want to start where you want to end, right where this ends. And you can see this is pretty good. And then as you do this,
9.
you can also rename the file. You just click right in the text, and you can put the number 9.
1.
This is number 1.
3.
This is number 3. So I will continue, and I will finish this.
7.
7. And again, you're going to do this for all of the numbers. And you can see it's kind of a lot of work, but it's very important work. Because if it's not done correctly, let's see what's going on here, right? There's some audio.
8. 8.
So you want to make sure that you don't cut this off, because otherwise it's just
8. 8.
Right? This last part is the t in 8, right? 8. I kind of, when I recorded this,
8. 8.
kind of sounds like that. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not so obvious, so you have to be careful. So this is number 8.
0,
0. And what's this?
5,
5. And you can move them closer if you'd like. You certainly don't need to. And just a couple more left. So you can see there's maybe some sound,
6,
right?
6,
This is 6.
2,
Number 2. See, what's happening here is it's getting stuck in some ways, and we'll talk about that right now. So what may happen is
4,
this is the 4. What may happen is the default setting is to snap to grid. The grid are these lines. You can see when I'm just moving the cursor, it kind of wants to, it's almost like a magnet, right? It kind of wants to stay there for a little bit. So even though I'm moving, it's kind of stuck on a line, it gets caught. So that's kind of what's happening here. If you're doing minor adjustments, this what's called the snap to grid and the smart grid, it wants to go to a line. Again, it's like a magnet. It wants to stick to a line. You can turn this off, and I would recommend that you turn this off. If you zoom in enough, it's not going to make a difference. But for example, here, if you want to make a very slight adjustment, you would not be able to do that. What's happening here? Some of the lines sometimes get a little glitchy. So again, 1, 3. There's probably a few adjustments you can make. Once you get pretty close, it's good enough. You just want to make sure that there's no like big amount of silence. You want to get as close as you can to the end of the sound. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to rearrange these. So you can kind of see that you can kind of select and click and drag all of them so we can get a little closer so we can see what numbers we have. The easiest thing to do from here is to add a new track, and we're going to add a voice or a mic track. We don't have an instrument. This is the MIDI, right? We don't have any instruments. And again, guitar and bass is not plugged in. So we're just going to use a regular voice or a mic track. And we're going to arrange this from 0 up to 9. In this case, I want to arrange them not just, kind of randomly. I want to put them in obviously the specific order, but I want to have them take up a certain amount of room. I want the numbers to be exact in terms of their timing. Timing is very important for music. So we're going to actually go make sure that the snap to grid is locked, right? Locked on. You have this little magnet. You can see that it's going to gravitate towards certain things. And the grid size, I want you to use either a quarter or a half. I would recommend a half. You can see that when I select a quarter down to half, you can see that it removes some lines, it adds some lines. So these are the lines that you basically are allowed to move. You can see I'm clicking and dragging, and it wants to move to the next line. Purpose of this again is to make sure that when you move your 1, you can't move it anywhere except for the next. You can actually line it up with a little bit, but anyway, we're going to just move it to the next line. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we need to zoom out, and the last one is 9. So 0 through 9. The numbers disappear if you zoom out, so this is really the only thing you need the numbers for. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to make a copy, because I want these numbers to go from 0 to 9 and then down to 0. So again, just kind of move this around. So it's just easier for me to work from top to bottom, left to right. So to make a copy, you can either, the easiest way is to right click and copy, and then you're going to paste it into the track, Control V, Control C, copy, Control V, paste. Let me just type that into Notepad. Control C on the keyboard, copy, Control V, paste. So you can Control C, and you're going to Control V. In this case, it's just going to paste it exactly where the playhead is. And in this case, the playhead was right at the end here, but you want to make sure it's lined up. The other way that you can do this is you can hold down Alt and then click and drag. You can hold down Alt on the keyboard and then click and drag, and you'll see. So over here, I'm going to select this. I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to click and drag and make a copy. Really, that's the easiest way to do this. And what I've done in the process is I have 0 up to 9. I don't need a copy of 9. That's unnecessary, although if you do it, obviously it's not a big deal. And then you have 0 through 8. And I'm going to put this 8 and then 7. You see I'm taking the last one, I'm putting it in the front. And it's all going to line up to, I'm going to take both of these and I'm going to move them. And then I want this one is 2, 1, 0, right? I can put the playhead, again, all the way to the beginning, make sure that I have the right numbers.
0, 1, 2, 3.
And you see it's
4,
set in your pulse.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And that's it. That's 60% of the project. That is day 1 and day 2. Again, just to review this, we renamed the clips. We set the project to grid mode. We created a new track and rearranged the numbers. We made a copy. You can also press Alt. That's my preference. And then the audio should play 0 up to 9 and then back down to 0. That is this portion. You want to make sure that your audio is clean, single numbers aligned to the grid, evenly spaced. There is no space, there is no silence before or after the number. And by silence, I mean not the space, obviously in between there is silence there, but there is no silence in the actual audio clips, right? If I zoom in on any of these, if I zoom in on number 3 or number 2, whatever number I'm on, there is no, this cursor is a little hard to, right, number 5. So this one could really, if you unsnap it, right, you can really make just a very slight adjustment, snap to grid, and you want to make sure that you're lined up. Very slight adjustments are not going to make a difference, but if you have, a significant portion, it will. The next thing you want to do is you want to add a few tracks. We're just going to add like 4 tracks. And this is the creative bit. This is, you have to follow the directions exactly, and this is worth 60%. The rest of this is going to be more for fun. I want you to create chaos. I want you to get weird, get crazy, do random things, really, literally do whatever you want. I really don't care. But what you have to do is you have to use these 10 numbers, 0 to 9, and you're going to, again, in this case, you can unsnap it. This part does not have to be musical. And, I'll just kind of create, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see a little bit. I'm just going to create a few of these, make a copy. Let's make a copy with 0. I'm actually going to, let's see, for the 0, let's see, I'm going to trim this. So it doesn't actually say 0. It's just kind of like a Z, 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 right? I'm just going to kind of literally randomly make very, put them very close together. You can see that if I do it too close, it will delete it. But what I can do is I can, put it on a separate track like this. So even though I can't put them too close together, you can kind of make a new track so that it sounds like this. Let's put this over here. So far, let's just see what we have.
3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
And then let's take that 0, and then let's get that. Let's see what this is.
0.
Right. So let's put that 0, like era, right? So you're literally just taking the sounds and you're making a complete mess out of it. You can do things randomly. If you want to make a pattern, you can. This part is all creative.
0.
Cool. The other things you can do, let's take this. Let's just take this clip kind of by itself. We did the editor option, right? You can certainly reverse it.
The best.
I'm typing. Sometimes I get lost in my controls. All right, so you have
3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 0, 0. The best.
So this one is backwards, right? So you can certainly play around with that effect if you'd like. There's also a playback rate, although you can't type in here. Once you have an audio clip selected, you'll see that if you click the minus, it's going to actually make the clip longer. It's physically making that clip longer. And you can go down as much as 0.2, which means that if you're going from 1 to a 0.2, you're making it 5 times longer. There is a little bit of a lag here, but you can see that it's right now at 0.4. The more you do in the program, the longer it takes. But anyway, the kind of the point here is that you can take an audio clip and you can stretch it, right? To do like a little time stretch.
Yes.
And if we reverse this back, you can kind of see what it does.
0. 0.
It kind of changes the voice itself as well, and you can really do a lot with that, just on its own. The other thing you can do is instead of clicking editor, there's also a couple of pitch shift things if you would like to mess around with that, although we have a full project on that, a full mini project. And then you can also have effects. The effects, you can either have a preset and the effect is going to affect the entire track. You can't do it only for a certain clip. That's where the editor comes in. So let's say for this entire track, you use a preset for a pristine plate. So again, let's just listen to 3 as a solo.
3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
And if you do, let's see, pristine plate, it's going to do a little echo, a little space maker, whatever.
3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
So you can see there's a lot of reverb, and that's what that is. So if you want, you can mess around with some of this, and a lot of feedback, and room sizes as big as it gets. Let's say you want to have, you can literally play around with this as much as you want. Just leave it as is, see what kind of difference it makes. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So that's the echo with the delay. So there are some like pre-made, that might be too much. So if you go back to effects, maybe we don't want that much feedback and delay. But that's, the idea behind that one. If you go to, this one that we made. So we have, let's solo this one. Right, a lot happening there. So if we go to effects, you can add your individual effects or select something from one of these presets. If you want to select a manual preset, it depends what you want to do. So let's say reverb, we kind of did that a little bit. Modulation is really cool, so we can add a tremolo. And again, you can play around with this, see what you like. and let's do a House of Metal. So this track is going to have some, distortion. So let's just leave it as is and see just under 5 and see where this is. So I'm adding a tremolo and a distortion to this voice. Let's see what this sounds like. You just want to make sure that you don't get too loud. So maybe you want to turn the volume down a little bit. That's the level that you see here. And let's close that. So that's, adding some things. And then again, select the next track, click effects, add an effect. Let's see. Could do a little delay. We have a delay on the other one, but let's do a phaser and delay. So a delay and the phaser is probably going to sound a little different. And then we can actually use a little, just put a compressor in there and then, just kind of play around with it, see what it sounds like, see what you like, see if you like it. So because you have a delay, you kind of have that echo, right? What you can do is you can actually, once you do this, you can make a copy of the entire thing. Either Control-C, Control-V as I did before, or just hold down Alt. That is certainly easier. And then basically you're just going to play around with this and you're going to have a creative section. So that's just a few seconds to show you how to do it. So I'm starting my composition about 19 seconds, and this ends about 25. So I only have about 6 seconds of my creative section of here of the composition. And all of day 3 stuff is basically take the clips, create an original composition that's between 15 and 30 seconds. So for this example, I only had 6, so you want to make about 3 times as much. This is where the examples come in. You can certainly take, most of them were made in the 4 other programs, so they're not always going to be very, similar to what you can make. But in certain cases, a lot of the effects are the same if you want to add effects. You can add effects to the audio tracks, but that is optional. And layer, that is a requirement. You definitely need at least 4 or 5 new tracks. This is just 4 as an example. I will save this as, let's do number Jumble. Let's do number 8 because I had a few of these. So let's exit, go back to the library, and you can see version 7. If I go to my mix editor as it loads this. When you're done, zoom in or out as you need to take a screenshot. Click File, Mix Down Audio, Upload to Classroom and to Tunes to Tube. I showed you how to do that before. And again, grading 60% is just the first, the first few numbers, the first 10 numbers. It counts up, counts down. No effects, nothing underneath it. Please don't put the composition directly underneath because it's going to play at the same time. I don't want to see any effects. I don't want anything, I don't want any of this stuff over here because as you play,
4, 5, 3,
I can't hear the numbers cleanly. So just make sure that you leave the first numbers absolutely clean. Nothing happening underneath, nothing happening at the same time. Your creativity of the original composition, which is 15 to 30 seconds, created but after the ordering of the numbers, effective use of copy and paste, time change, reverse audio layering, and other sound effects are optional. And then again, the submission of the audio MP3 file and the screenshot and YouTube link optional, highly recommended, so it's just easier for me to share. But that's it. That's essentially the entire project. If you have any questions, always email me. But if you want to find out, again, this one kind of starts at 19. This is another example, about 19 seconds, and it ends at about 32. So this is about 13 seconds. 15 seconds is a requirement, so you can certainly make this just a little bit longer. And that is all. I'll play this example for you.
7,
Because of the effect, there was a little delay, a little echo, so I would certainly accept that as 15 seconds. So that is all. Don't think I missed anything, but just basically the creativity for the numbers. I don't want just the numbers, spread out and there's nothing happening. I want a lot of layering. I want as messy as jumbled as you can make them. Especially with the effects, you can really go crazy. The weirder, the better. I'm giving you 20 points on the creativity. So if it's not super creative, you'll get 5 or 10 points or 15 points. If it's not at least 15 seconds, if you give me 3 seconds, you're not going to get the full 20 points. So just that kind of thing, just make it as crazy as possible. The one thing I don't want you to do is just to make it super loud. I shouldn't have to change the volume while I'm listening. That's not enjoyable. There's one thing to make it weird and cool, but it's another thing to make it unpleasant for the listener. So don't make it super loud at any point. If you are adding distortion, for example, if there's, I think the slow phase over here, I think I may have added something, or maybe it was maybe it was this one. Are there any effects on it? There are no effects on this one. So there's one of these, I think it was the 2 at some point. I think it was this one. That is maybe it's just louder. There's no way for you to turn everything down, or just these down. There's only a way for you to turn everything down. But you can certainly play around with it. And in most cases, you usually have some kind of a volume option. Or you can add an effect, and that's where you have your dynamics, right? You can have a compressor, or basically the compressor, that's where you have your makeup gain. So you can actually turn this down a little bit, and you'll see that it does make a difference. So that is all. Yeah, so there's a few things that are maybe a little too loud. So just don't make it too loud. That's it. That's it. Cool.